Breaking news. The Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi-San, has announced that the Nigerian government is collaborating closely with the Finnish authorities to secure the extradition of Simon Ekpa for prosecution over alleged offenses against Nigeria's national security. Speaking on Thursday during the quarterly stakeholders and citizens engagement program held at the Ministry of Justice headquarters in Abuja, Fagbemi assured stakeholders that the government remains committed to bringing Simon Ekpa to justice. According to them, Simon Ekpa's offense is a cross-border offense. If he committed an offense there and committed another one here, we cannot request his release to us until they have dealt with him. After that, we can request his extradition, Fagbemi stated. Now, we know that Simon Ekpa is a Finland-based Nigerian separatist and a self-proclaimed prime minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile, and he has been accused of inciting violence in the southeast region. The Nigerian government also accused Simon Ekpa of having links with activities of unknown gunmen who have carried out several deadly attacks in the southeast region under the guise of advocating for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Let's not forget how Simon Ekpa was arrested in Finland alongside 4 other individuals, although those persons were later released. So Simon Ekpa's extradition has become a focal point in ongoing effort to curb separatist violence in the southeast region. And this is an update from, the Nigerian authorities that his extradition is just a matter of time.
This very news has been trending in the last 24 hours that the Finnish court has given an approval to extradite Simon Ekpa from Finland back to Nigeria, to face his offenses or his criminal, offenses and records squarely. I took my time to check, various international and local media outlets to confirm if truly that information is correct. Unfortunately, I can tell you here right now that there are no reliable information to substantiate that very trending news that actually that the Finnish government will be extraditing Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. Simon Ekpa, who was arrested some time ago, I remember when he was arrested, a lot of people sent me DM telling me, Inspire Castro, talk about this Simon Ekpa's arrest. Is it true? What is the fate of the young man? First and foremost, there are a couple of things that need to be pointed out. I do know that actions and reactions are equal but opposite, and there are consequences for every actions. And sequel to this, part of the reasons you see me on the internet space, lending my voice for good governance in Nigeria, is as a result of the rascalities we have seen over the years from our political office holders. And also, when you look at the sectional agitations we have here and there in Nigeria, people from the southeastern part of Nigeria, from the north, peculiarly the southeasterners, it's as a result of the agitation, gross marginalization, maltreatment, hate speech, and gross hatred that this region of southeastern part of Nigerians have meted over the years. Hence, the reason for many of the agitations you see here and there. You can tell that is exactly the reason why Nnamdi Kanu, a voice in the wilderness, rose up some time ago. Having said that, I will equally go further to remind you that I for one, I am not an advocate of any form of rascality. I am not an advocate of any form of crisis. I'm not an advocate of violence. I do not approach or tackle issues, with violence. I usually believe that there are other diplomatic ways and means of handling problems professionally in 21st century, because the world has opened eyes. Now, back to Simon Ekpa. Even according to his lawyer, Simon Ekpa's lawyer has equally maintained that he has no reliable information on whether the Finnish court has approved the extradition of Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria or not. If it's a confidential or a secluded information, we are yet to find out. If it is true, it will certainly come up to the internet space. But the questions here would be, Will Simon Ekpa be extradited back to Nigeria? And if it is true that he's finally going to be extradited, what are his fate? You know, it was very easy for the federal government of Nigeria to unlawfully, you know, in a very inhuman way, to extradite Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya down to Nigeria. They didn't follow the international set laws for extradition. And that was why Nnamdi Kanu was extradited in such a wicked fashion. According to Rome Statutes of International Criminal Court of Justice, you know, most of the countries of the world are signatories to these Rome Statutes, which recognizes terrorism as an international crime. And as such, you know, countries where a person is charged with terrorism usually cooperate, you know, in the extradition process of that subject. Nigeria as a country is signatories to that very Rome Statutes of International Criminal Court. However, there are a lot of factors that are being considered before extradition will take place. Another thing to be considered as well is, does Nigeria as a country has a bilateral agreement with Finnish government? Obviously, Nigeria does not have any bilateral agreement with the Finnish government. I stand to be corrected. And for Simon Ekpa to be extradited, Nigerian government has to prove that all the allegations leveled against him, all the war crimes, all the genocide, because genocides and war crimes are part of the, you know, terrorism offenses that are classified according to the Rome Statutes of International Criminal Court, that if you are found guilty, your extradition process will be easy. And then you go back to your country to face your charges or your crimes. So the Nigerian government would have to prove, beyond every reasonable doubt, provide evidence that Simon Ekpa actually committed the crime that he's been alleged or charged. That is number one. And number two, the commission has to also look at the human rights record of Nigeria. How people are being treated. Does the government respect the human rights of the people? So they're going to look at that, and you and I can say clearly that human rights in Nigeria, people's human rights are being violated. People's fundamental human rights are being violated on a daily basis. So these are some of the issues or factors that will make the extradition of Simon Ekpa very difficult. However, it's not something that is impossible. You know, if the federal government of Nigeria does their homework very well, goes further to sign bilateral agreement with the Finnish government, and able to prove that Simon Ekpa committed those crimes, his extradition process will be swift. It will be successful. But if they are not able to, you know, prove all of these things, it may not happen. So, more so, another thing to bear in mind is this. Simon Ekpa, you know, worked as a soldier. He's a soldier in Finland. I don't know whether he's still an active soldier or whether he has retired. He worked with the military. And he has also been a politician, I think from far back 2017. And he belongs to the current ruling party in Finland, National Coalition Party. So with some of these affiliations, he will also be pulling his weight as much as he can. His lawyers, his acquaintances, you know, will be doing all they can traditionally to also protect his interest. So there are circumstances surrounding his case, even though Nigerian government, you know, the Nigerian military, according to the Chief of Defense Staff, Nigerian government is doing all they can, working out their mathematics to make sure that Simon Ekpa is extradited. If due process was followed with the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I am not pretty sure whether Mazi Nnamdi Kanu would have been extradited back to Nigeria. There will have been some other forces and factors that would have prevented him from being extradited. Rather, they kidnapped the man from Kenya and brought him back to Nigeria in that very inhuman, forceful manner.